Shalom, I'm Nama Rue.
I'm David Rue.
And we are talking about the Rabbinic prohibitions that apply to Jews living in the Holy Land and agriculture during the 7th year of the 7-year cycle known as the Shmita year. And that is the year that the land rests. And therefore, what do the rabbis have to say about what we can and cannot do?
Well, we're based on the Chaznish's list, we're going to start with the 11th rabbinic prohibition and do several today. The Mishnah Shvis, Perek Beis Mishnah Dalet, says Mezahmין es hanitios, we're allowed to do zihum to the seedlings. וכורכין osam, we're allowed to wrap them. וקוטמין osam, we do kotem to them. ועושין להם בתים, we make houses for them. ומשקין osam, and we can water them ad Rosh Hashanah, until Rosh Hashanah. So let's see what these things are. In terms of the first one, the 11th on the Haznish's list, Mizahmין, the Rash says, כשיש maka לאילן, וסרה קליפתו, when there is damage to the tree, some of the bark has been knocked off, or another way damaged, I put some manure on it, and מדביקין שם זבל, I attach in one way or another the manure there so it will protect it, so to speak, a bandage on the tree until it is cured. And I can't do this on Shmita.
We can't do something to preserve a tree that might be getting sick or vulnerable to the weather, or some kind of parasite.
Well, here there's damage on the outside of the tree. The tree will live, but it'll be damaged. So the Rambam has a slightly different way of looking at it, and the Rambam views it as not preventing possible damage. I'm doing something to prevent possible future damage. And the Shulchan says that the problem is I'm doing something with the tree itself. If you think about other types of malachas, I'm doing something around the tree that makes it grow better or something. Here I'm actually doing something to the tree, according to both opinions, and that's a greater problem than if I'm doing something around the tree. Korchi, the 12th, Rashi says, Korchi also mipnei hatzina ve'achama. I wrap the tree because it's either too cold or too hot to protect it from extreme weather. The Rambam says, Korchi nosan, hu shemekabtzin anafim v'koshrin osam k'dei she'yagbiu b'yosher v'lo yitpashru al haaretz. That I tie the tree up, I tie the limbs up, I tie the branches up, the leaves up, and so on, so it doesn't spread out, so it grows straight up. Two very, very different understandings of what this prohibition is.
Okay, wait. Like I have a tree that is in a pot so that I can take it inside in the winter.
Yeah, but I don't know if that's the problem. Here I'm wrapping it in some way.
Well, I wonder if I could leave it outside and wrap it. Maybe.
No, Rashi says clearly according to Rashi, that's the prohibition.
Okay, maybe not on the Shmita year.
Not on the Shmita year. Farmers do this all the time for various things, and when there are bad frosts, for instance, in Florida, the tapuz, the orange growers, sprinkle water on their trees that actually creates a layer of ice that protects them from the extreme cold. The little cold won't bother them. It actually serves as an insulation to protect them from the extreme cold. Komtim, Rashi says, Komtim also, Perush Baruch, it says in the Aruch was a dictionary written in the 800s, 900s in Italy. Amar Targumo Kitma, it says ash. V'yesh mefarshim shovrim haroshim kamo niktam rosho. And other people say it's trimming the top off. Like niktam rosho is if the top of a lulav, hadas, or rava is cut off, it makes it puzzle. So Rashi is saying in some way, it's trimming the very top of the tree, which would sort of, in a certain way, be the opposite of the Rambam's shot in Korchik, meaning when you're according to the Rambam, you're tying the tree so it grows straighter up. Here, you're cutting the top of the tree, according to Rashi, so it spreads out. The Rambam says, "Kotmin osan." What do we do this? Hushi gzos es roshe anafim. This is Rashi's second pshat. They cut the top of it. Im hayatzorech lekach, if it needs it. Or yasim afar al ha'ilanos shadarkam bekach. Or I put ashes on them, if this is the nature of this tree. So it's two, Rashi and the Rambam have said in the reverse order the same things. It's either putting ash on it for some reason, or it's trimming the top so it doesn't grow so high. Vosim lehem batim, I make them houses. Greenhouses, perhaps? No. Rashi's there is also the same as the opinion of the Rambam. Vosim lehem batim, miu b'Yerushalmi mashma bais mamish litzel. I'm making a little house for shade so that the sun is not too difficult on them, it's not too hard on them. And Rashi and the Zara and the Bartanero say almost the same thing. Rashi in a different place, not here in Avodah Zarah. Regilim lasos la'ilan geder amas svivotav. I make a little fence around the tree. Umumalim oso afar, and I fill it with dirt. V'yesh mefarshim shoselo sukkah milamala, and some people I say put a little shade above. Lagein alav, to protect it minachama or minatzina, to protect from the heat or the cold. Now, we also sometimes put little fences around trees to stop animals from attacking them and so on. All of these things, it seems to me, would be included in what Rashi is saying. You're doing things at the base of the tree to protect it from potential damage. Now, the last malacha in this Mishnah is watering. And this is very difficult because there's another Mishnah later on, in the 10th Mishnah in this parak, that says, "Umarbitzin ba'afar lavan," Tivur Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov Oser. You can be marbitzin, say sprinkling water on what's called a white dirt, according to Rabbi Shimon, and Rabbi Eliezer prohibits it. Now, what exactly are we talking about? First, we have to distinguish between different types of fields. There's something called Sdei Beisabal, that is a field that doesn't need, in general, any watering at all. And of course, I'm not allowed to water it on Shmita. There is a field called Sdei Ilan, of an orchard or something like that needs watering around the trees. And there it depends upon the density, we'll see, of the trees in the field as to what I can water and what I can't water. And there's Sdei Shlichin. There's a field that needs some watering or more watering. Then some of these need a little watering, some of these need more watering. So here, the Mishnah has used a term that we don't normally use in describing fields. And that is ba'afar lavan, white dirt. What exactly does that mean?
It sounds like sand.
No, it's not, because it's growing. It's a field that we're growing in.
Well,
so there are different interpretations given of this. The Bartanero says, "Marbitzin ba'afar lavan, kolomar mashkim stei lavan." This is a grain field that requires some watering, according to him. V'ken halacha shemashkim stei lavan erev shvis, k'dei shiyatzu hayurakos b'shvish. And so too, this field, it's normally used for grain, vegetables, whatever, but it's a field that needs water. I water it erev shvis, so that I will have plenty of vegetables during the Shmita year. V'lo od ela shemashkim oto bishvis k'dei shiyatzu yurakos l'motzi trees. Not only that, he says, I'm allowed to water it on Shmita so that vegetables will grow after Shmita. The Rambam.
Wait, so you can water it before Rosh Hashanah and towards the end of the year when you're not going to have fruit until after the Shmita ends.
Right, that's the Bartanero's opinion.
So you could even, can you plant at the end of the Shmita year if the food will come up? Okay,
no.
Fine.
That's because planting is a Torah.
But you can start watering.
According to the Bartanero, the Rambam looks at it differently. And he says, Marbitzim ba'afar lavan, when he's explaining the Mishnah, Zalfi maim ba'afar lavan. I am allowed to sprinkle water on white dirt. V'nikra afar lavan hamakom she'ilanem ruchakim ad shu kol asara mehem bi'yeter mibeisa. And it's called white dirt when I have trees planted so that in a base saw, 72 feet by 72 feet, there are less than 10 trees. If there are more than 10 trees, I'm allowed to, see, it's a different halacha, as we'll see in a second. But if it's less than that, I'm allowed to put a little bit of water in between the trees. If it's closer than this, if there are more than 10 trees in every base saw, then I'm allowed to water it. Now, there's a lot more to be said about watering, so we're going to continue watering in the next shiur.
Can I ask you about that? You water between the trees if there's less than 10 trees.
You can water each tree, and you can do a little bit in between the trees if they're less than 10. If
Just
they're more than 10,
keep the area damp. That way.
Right. If there are more than 10, then I can water the whole field.
Okay.
And we'll see a lot more about this in the next video which will be exclusively on watering during the Shmita year.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.